York's classic rock. Q1043.
Randy Bachman of Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Welcome, Randy.
Good morning.
And the Guess Who. One of the most successful recording artists of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And the host of a long-running, very popular radio show
I just
in
got my
Canada.
13th year renewal. How's that for a radio gig?
On the
Congratulations.
CBC.
For a guy who doesn't need it.
but it's such, you're such a storyteller. I mean, your show is a very different kind of show, and people just rave about it. And if you go to cbc.ca,
Randy's Vinyl Tap.
You can check it out. But I mean, it's been a national phenomenon. I mean, you went on the radio.
It started out as a joke,
and it became a major hit.
What do you mean it was a joke?
A friend I know had a show there at CBC Radio, which is like network, so you got like 10 or 12 million people listening every Saturday night. And he said he was retiring. And I go, how do you retire from radio? We go and play records. We all play records, all music all the time in our car, in our house, whatever. And he goes, well, this is my hobby. I'm really a stockbroker. And I say, okay, I get it. And he says, they need somebody to fill the summer from July the 1st till September, 10 shows. And I go, and he says, if you think it's so easy, try it. So I said, what do you mean try it? He said, do a demo. I said, like getting a record deal? I said, yeah, do a radio show. And so I figured, what can I do that's different? And I thought, well, I'll tell the story of the day the music died. Because as a kid, I was playing hooky from school with 3 guys in a car, driving to Fargo to see Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. The plane crashed that night. So we're all getting in the car. We're driving to Fargo, which is 90 miles below Winnipeg. We crossed the border. And I'm not going to tell my parents till I'm in Fargo, saying, I'm not coming home from school at 4 o'clock.
Right, you left the country. Your parents
And as
don't
we're
even know.
driving there, they start to play Buddy Holly and Richie Valens. We're going, isn't this great? And they say, and so the concert's canceled. And we pull over to the side of the road, and they say the plane crashed last night, and we all sob and cry. So that was my first radio show, and the mail that the CBC got because of I was going there, and I had my ticket, and I have the poster from the night before when they played at Iowa in a ballroom, right? And so my whole show was the Big Bopper and Buddy Holly and stuff. And then I had a theme. And they said, what are you going to do next? I said, a friend of mine, Gian Gomeshi, did the best summer driving songs. People sent in 800 songs. He only played 50. I asked him for his list. So I did 2 shows back-to-back, 4 hours of summer driving songs. And then I started having, every show has a theme, girls' names.
You're a natural.
Boys' names.
But it became this giant hit. I mean, it's a real
But every time I play
phenomenon.
records, see, if you're doing boys' names, you can, or girls' names, you start from Diana, Paul Anka,
Right.
or Hey Paula or something. You go right up to last year, One Republic or something have a song with a girl's name. So I was allowed to play, and I didn't have a boss because I did this on my own in my own studio. 5 decades of rock and roll, whereas most stations have a narrow 350-song playlist that they might add 10 or 12 to and pull away. I had tens of thousands and my own record collection, which was vinyl. And for a joke like Spinal Tap, I called it Vinyl Tap. And then when the summer was over, there was a strike, and they said, nobody can cross the picket line. We're replaying all our summer shows until we do this work settlement. Can we play your 10 shows again? I said, yeah, am I getting any more money? And they said, no. And I said, I lost $600 doing it this summer, but it was a lot of fun because I was rebuying vinyl because mine was all crackly. Right. And then they took the summer book of ratings. They said, you're the top-rated show. Do you want to do this for real? And I said, you mean a real job, a J-O-B? My dad's actually always kept saying, you got to get a real job. You never make it in rock and roll. So I got this real job, and it's like they just renewed my 13th year.
Wow.
And, the CBC, it's like the BBC.
Yeah, I get
it's like
that.
PBS,
I get that.
public radio.
It's
no commercials.
It's the big deal, and they've got CBC 1 and CBC 2.
Yeah, and Canada's so diverse that all the little towns up north and everywhere that have 100 people, 200 people, that's what they listen to.
I know.
They get one station. It's like in the UK, like you said, BBC is everywhere. Scotland, Ireland, Wales.
Right.
They have little substations, but when you're on, you get a listenership of 10, 12 million.
And when you deconstructed... Oh, and by the way, if you just tuned in, Randy Bachman is here with us.
Bachman
At
Turner
Q1043.
Overdrive.
And when you deconstructed the immortal first chord of A Hard Day's Night, I mean, that went viral all over the world.
Yeah, I had to shut that guy down. He copied my radio show. He put it on YouTube. He was making money.
I know, but it came from you.
Well, it came from Giles Martin. I didn't deconstruct it. I never would attempt that. But friends of his in London, and he said, guess what I'm doing this week? I've got all the original tracks of the Beatles, and I'm doing a mix for Love, which was when they were starting their Vegas show. Do you want to come into Abbey Road Studios? So I go in there, and he says, what do you want to hear? And I go, I want to hear John Lennon sing, I heard the news today, oh boy. And you hear that alone, you start crying. It's just so plaintive and lonely. And I said, I want to hear the Hard Day's Night Guard. He said, great, we've got it up. Here's what John played. And I go, wow, D7th? With the sus on, with the G on? And George is playing an F on a Rickenbacker 12. It has to be a Rickenbacker. An F chord with a G on top and a G and a C on the bottom, which is a weird chord. Paul's playing a D bass. And then George Martin goes and adds these 3 weird bass notes, G, C, and an F on the bottom on piano. And when you play them separately, or even 2 together, it sounds weird. It's a train wreck. When you play them all, it's just blam. It's unbelievable. That's the chord for Hard Day's Night, which wasn't even supposed to be in the song. It was added later as a transition chord in the movie to dissolve from one scene to the other, and out comes this blang, and the whole world knows that one chord.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yep. Boy, that must have been, to be in Abbey Road Studios. I've stood on the sidewalk and looked at the building, but to be in there.
No, and when you go in there, there's armed guards.
Yeah, but so much magic.
When you go downstairs into the studio, even if you can't play piano, you sit at the Grand and you play a note, and it sounds like Long Winding Road or Hey Jude. And you go to the other one and you play it, and it's Obladi. It's dun, 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 dun. It's that funny little honky tonk piano sound. It's an amazing studio.
I can tell that the enthusiasm that you had when we first heard from you as a member of the Guess Who, the enthusiasm for the music has never waned. Not even a little bit. I mean,
it gets more and more and more.
I'm looking. Your face when you talk about it, he gets a little boy.
Yeah, you light up. Your whole
face
lights up. Yeah, it's the real deal.
Well, the most fun I had in recent years was doing this new album by George album, where I couldn't do any better than the Beatles or George.
Right.
So I took them and put a new suit of clothes on every song to prove, as a songwriter, how great George's songs were, that they could be done in any style. Because I've had these eyes done by Junior Walker. You guys probably have played that.
Sure.
American Woman by Lenny Kravitz. Kurt Elling from Chicago doing She's Come Undone, the most incredible jazz version I've had. And this guy's an incredible singer. And so many other bands doing my songs. And as a songwriter, you go, what's that guy doing? And after it starts to get popular, you see what they've done. They've reinterpreted your song, and it stands up as a good song. So I started to do that with George's songs, and it was the greatest fun to get 50 of his song titles, play through drum loops on my computer, on my GarageBand on Apple, and can I sing this song to that drum loop? And then if I can I change the chords and take his major chords and make minor chords like I did in Here Comes the Sun? It's a reggae now in a minor key, and I've reinvented the song.
And we're going to hear it next.
Are you?
Yes. We're going to hear it next here on Q1043. The new album, By George, by Bachman, will be released on March 2nd. And before the break, Randy was telling us about his love for these Harrison compositions. And he also, during the break, told us that if you try to do a Beatles song like the Beatles, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. Well, you can't capture that moment. And I have a lot of outtakes of the Beatles and stuff from behind the scenes that I got, from Giles Martin and stuff like that. These guys were like 4 train wrecks of genius that got together, and with a mastermind like George Martin that put them all in a bottle. And when he uncorked that bottle, out came this bottled lightning that the flash was around the world. You can't replicate that. It'll never happen again.
But you can reinterpret their compositions.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had a lot of fun doing that. And I've heard that in a lot of radio stations, like jazz guys now are redoing Joni Mitchell, Free Man in Paris, and things like that. And they're redoing, from New York, John Pizzarelli doing a lot of great Beatles songs.
John Pizzarelli is so amazing.
Yeah,
He really
So he was
is.
like my idols, and how he did.
What a guitar
We Can Work
player.
It Out, some of the other stuff, and with great guitar playing. So I thought I would do that with the George Harrison songs. So there's a couple of songs in there that are pretty hip jazz. There's a couple that sound like the Gypsy Kings, which are like my big ones. There's a couple that are like ZZ Top shuffles. So I took every George Harrison song and tried to just totally redo it in something that would totally blow you away, and you don't know what it is when the groove starts until the singing starts, and then you immediately know it.
All right, so let's hear Here Comes the Sun,
Okay.
which you turned into...
You're not supposed to tell them what it is.
Oh,
Right, because you
Have them
can't
phone
tell
in
it.
and
but-
guess.
Right.
I
No.
messed it up.
Oh.
Well,
That's
as soon
okay.
as the vocal comes in, they'll
know it.
They'll know. Okay, let's listen. This is Randy from By George, by Bachman, here at Q1043. Well, it certainly sounded, Randy Bachman, like you were having a very good time.
Yeah.
I was. That whole ending was done with one mic for fun. I just started playing it. You can hear me yelling in the ending. Like, go to the 4 chord, sing with me, da 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 da, and then let's sing Here Comes the Sun over this kind of Gypsy Kings ending. It was a lot of fun, a lot of joy.
Well, you've got on the album a lot of great songs. Just a partial track list, If I Needed Someone. What a great song. You Like Me Too Much, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I Need You. Of course, Taxman, Something. Don't Bother Me. I mean, these are great songs. Great
Thank you.
songs. And, you put your spin on it. And as he mentioned before, if you weren't listening a few minutes ago, he was talking about some of the other artists who've covered songs that he's famous for. You know, and the first time you hear it, when it's reinterpreted, you think, well, that's a little strange. But then they put their own take on it, and it works. Like he used as an example These Eyes by Junior Walker and the All-Stars, their cover, which was a big hit.
Oh, it was.
That was a big hit. And
To have it, so ours was still on the pop charts, and I have Junior Walker's on the R&B charts. I have a real Motown guy doing it. It was when we did a lot of shows with him because of that.
I always loved his What Does It Take to Win Your Love
Oh,
song.
yeah.
But anyway, I just played the Junior Walker version, a little bit of it for Shelley, and it was different, but it was good,
But it
right?
sounded great.
And you're going to be at B.B. King's, Randy.
Yeah, this Saturday. George's birthday is Sunday.
Right.
So the 24th, we're doing that. Then I'm doing Breakfast with the Beatles Sunday morning.
With Ken
and
Dash
I'm going
out.
to have a whole year's celebration of George's birthday because I'm coming back for Beatle Fest in 2 weeks. Got another Beatle Fest in Chicago in June.
Right, and Ken is also the MC, the host of the Festival for Beatles fans here in town. But you're going to be Sunday morning, right, with Ken for this big Breakfast with the Beatles special.
Playing the Hard Day's Night chord to start the morning.
Whoa.
Perfect.
You've got to be up to listen to that. You got to check that out. It's always a pleasure to see you, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for playing the music.
It's Randy Bachman of Bachman Turner Overdrive.
You've got it. That's what I say.
I know.
Randy Bachman
Well, we
of
learned
Bachman
from
Turner
you.
Overdrive.
New York's classic rock. Q1043.